Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Lifestyle CEO Show. I'm your host, Donna Maria, the original Lifestyle CEO, and I am so excited to welcome you to the first show of 2006. We are looking forward to a wonderful January, not to mention a wonderful year, and we are getting started with things with a real big bang. Today's show is sponsored by Essential Wholesale. Essential Wholesale is a worldwide supplier of natural raw materials and supplies to make your own cosmetics. How appropriate is that for today's show? They've got natural fruit extracts, essential oils, floral waters, shea butter, even mineral colors to make your own eyeshadows and foundations. They've got small and large quantities, so if you're thinking of making your own cosmetics, Essential Wholesale would be a great place to get started. You can visit their website at essentialwholesale.com for more information and tell them that the original Lifestyle CEO sent you. As I said, for the first show of 2006, we have got an extraordinary guest today. We have a woman who is a wife, mother, entrepreneur, business owner, author, and throughout the show today, I'm sure we're going to be adding lots of other things to that list. Today's guest is none other than Lisa Price of New York's Carol's Daughter. She is the author of Success Never Smelled So Sweet, How I Followed My Nose and Found My Passion. And she is the originator of so many unique products that all of you, I'm sure, have at least heard about. Hopefully all of you have tried them. If you haven't, you need to get over to carolsdaughter.com now and have a look around. Happy New Year and welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you, too.
Well, I'm just very excited to have you. And, you know, in preparing for today's show, I was so excited to pull out my autographed copy of your book and start having a look around, and something caught me, and I know that the listeners and lifestyle CEOs that are listening will be interested in knowing this about you, so I'm going to start off with this. This is from the prologue of your book, and what you say here is, writing this book is my way of encouraging you to pursue the enriching life you dream of. So often we see people presented as success stories, as I was on Oprah, and assume that they are different, somehow better than we are, and have advantages that we don't. But I want you to know, and this is you speaking, Lisa, I want you to know, reader, that an ordinary person with no money and a lot of baggage can dramatically change her life in a reasonable amount of time. That, to me, is a powerful, powerful way to start your book. And I'd like to use that as sort of a springboard for our talk today. Lisa, how did you get started making your own cosmetics? And tell us a little bit about the circumstances that you described here, sort of having a difficult time in life. You called it, I think, baggage and not a lot of money. Tell us a little bit about it. Take us back. Well, how every woman can relate to that. So tell us your story.
Well, in all honesty, I wouldn't say that I had a difficult life. I just, at the time that I started my business, I wasn't in the best financial situation. So, you know, you would look at my finances and say, you know, how could she start a business now? When I started my company, I was 3 years out from personal bankruptcy. I filed for personal bankruptcy in 1990, and that had resulted from trying to pursue a career in singing that didn't quite work out, and, you know, living off of credit cards and, you know, not managing my money properly. And, you know, so when I started my business, I wasn't in a position to go to a bank and get a loan. I wasn't in a position to get a credit card, and I had to do things slowly and organically. And that was great because at the time that I started it, I really thought that I was just kind of working on this little hobby. I had a career in television and film production that I loved. I thought that would be the thing that I did for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really just looking for something that when I got to the point in my life when I decided to have children, where I could maybe have a job that enabled me to work at home.
Mm-hmm.
So when I dreamt about my business at that time, I thought, that I'd have like a garage and a couple people working with me, and I'd still make product. And when I had children, I wouldn't have to work 18-hour days in television production. I could work from home. Of course, the business grew beyond a garage and a couple of people working for me, but
right.
that was my original thought at the time. Everything, grew slowly. I earned money. I put it back into the business, and I did that for years.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the way that it needed to happen.
So you got started. It sounds like you had kind of a passion for singing beforehand. You talk a little bit about that, and then you started a hobby, and little did you know, huh?
Right, exactly. I did have a passion for singing till I tried the music business, and then I decided that my passion for singing was just that, my passion for singing, and I didn't have a passion to have a music career, because those are two very different things. So, I was glad that I did it, that I tried it, but it wasn't really for me.
Right. Well, Lisa, thank you for sharing that intro on how you got started and where your mindset was, because I know, as I'm sure you do, a lot of people do have, maybe not, as you said, a difficult life, but certain difficulties that they feel would prevent them from being successful, whether it's financial or relationship-wise or self-esteem-wise. And, this show is all about helping people break those rules and build their own corporate ladder. And I just appreciate you being so honest and sharing about that, because we all have things that we feel would hinder us if we really tried. But you broke a lot of sort of stereotypical ideas about a person starting a business. I mean, you obviously had a passion, but you went into it with the idea, as you said, of being home with your children.
Yes.
And that is, I mean, I'd imagine that must have driven you at times when it was really difficult to keep going. Is that so?
Well, initially, when I first started it, I didn't have children, but I was, my husband and I were planning to have children at some point, and I knew that I didn't earn enough in my job in television production to afford a nanny. And then even if I did, I thought, well, when will I see my kids if I'm at work all the time? Because the job I had was very demanding. So I didn't know how I was going to juggle that. So initially that was the drive, make this successful enough that when we get to that point that we have a family, I'll be in that position where I can stay at home but still contribute to the household. Once I did have my first child, I actually left my last job, my last 9 to 5, because television is not really 9 to 5, but I left my last gig the month before he was born. And initially, it wasn't difficult. It actually wasn't even a difficult decision to reach. It made perfect sense. I was happy with it. I didn't have any regrets. When we were expecting our second child, my husband's company went bankrupt that he was working for, and he suddenly had no job, no paycheck, nothing. Then we panicked because then it was all on the business to take care of us. So that's when it got a little scary, but it all worked out.
Yeah, in terms of a timeline, how far before that first child did you actually start your business, even though you were working full-time outside the home?
I started the business in 1993, and my first son was born in March of 96. I started in August of 93, so about 2.5 years before he was born.
And that is, I think that's just such a great nugget that listeners can appropriate into their own lives, particularly women who don't have children, that you can kind of think ahead and project what you want your life to be like when you do have them, and you did that. So that's a great lesson right there. Tell me a little bit, Lisa, about where this passion for making your beauty products came from. You're obviously a very creative, artful person. What do you remember the first thing you concocted?
Yes, I do actually.
What?
It all started with fragrance because I had this infatuation with perfume and fragrances from when I was 5. And so the first thing that I made was a blend that I called Number One, because, it was the first thing that I had ever made. Initially, I didn't call it anything, but then when I started making other fragrances, I called it Number One. But even before that, I would go in the Village in New York, and there were guys that would sell oils at tables, fragrance oils. And, you'd pick out, you want cherry or pineapple or whatever. And instead of just picking one, I would have them blended. But then the problem with that was I couldn't recreate my blend. So I found a place where I could buy fragrance oils, and I bought them, brought them home, and made that scent Number One. And it was a blend of a lettuce fragrance, tomato, osmanthus, tuberose, very clean and floral and kind of green smelling. And I took my fragrances and added them to oils and, made body oils, and then graduated to adding it to unscented shower gel and making shower gel. And then I started to experiment with creams. It took me literally 2 years to make cream that didn't separate, because I didn't have resources, books, internet at the time. It was just trial and error in the kitchen.
Right, and I remember there was a section of your book where you talked about, jumping so high throughout the house that,
Yeah, I was watching a cake commercial. And they were whipping the cake batter with the cake mixer, and I looked at it and I thought, gee, if I whip the cream while it's cooling, maybe it won't separate, and that actually worked. Yeah, and you were jumping around. That sounds very... That's so interesting, because no matter what business you're in, what you've just described is kind of a eureka-type, self-affirming moment, isn't it? When any woman whether you're making handbags or shoes or perfume, when it comes together and you have created something after hours and, as you say, years and years of trying, that feeling is a universal feeling no matter what you're doing, isn't it? It is. It's wonderful. I still get a thrill from watching water go into a pot of oil and watch the cream emulsify. I still love watching that almost 13 years later. Well, there's no doubt that you have definitely hit the nail on the head. My first time enjoying your products, I'm going to share a little bit about that afterward. We're going to take our first break. This is the Lifestyle CEO Show. For all of you who are listening out there, I want you to know that you can call in your comments or questions live, 800-773-0355. We'll be right back.
Why is everyone listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com? Because it's the future of talk radio. Every day, more and more people are finding Internet radio as not just an alternative media, but as a replacement to traditional AM and FM broadcast stations. Internet radio offers a wider variety of programs, convenient on-demand listening that meets your schedule, and fewer commercial interruptions. And GlobalTalkRadio.com is already leading the way by matching this content with a highly targeted Internet audience. GlobalTalkRadio.com offers its listeners one of the widest programming varieties on the Internet, from business and finance to self-improvement, paranormal, health, literature, romance, politics, and more. There are also opportunities for prospective hosts who would like to host their own weekly or one-time talk shows. Want to learn more? Check us out at www.globaltalkradio.com and see the future of talk radio today.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the Lifestyle CEO Show. We're talking today with the owner of Carol's Daughter, a manufacturer of really delicious bath and body products and products for the hair and perfumes and fragrances and men and babies and you name it, and they have it. And before the break, I mentioned I was going to share a little bit about my introduction to Carol's Daughter. I was speaking at a women's conference in Pennsylvania, and this was, my goodness, I think you were probably, Carol, still... I don't know. It was like the mid-'90s, early to mid-'90s, and I was speaking at a conference, and I walked past this table, and this woman had all these bottles and jars, and of course I was into making my own stuff at the time as well, had just started, and there was this stuff called Mimosa Hair Honey. And I thought, do you still have that in your line?
Yes, we do.
I thought I had died and gone to heaven, because not knowing a little bit about the manufacturing process, what got me, Lisa, was the color. And I knew that alkanet and annatto color that you combined, but I had never seen anybody put them together.
Wow.
And I mean, I don't know if you had either. I had been involved in doing this for a while, and on the internet groups, and not a whole lot at the time, but there were some. I had never seen anybody put them together, and shortly after I saw that product, I saw people starting to put it together. So I said to myself, "Ooh, this is not just cosmetics. This is innovation here," and I was excited to see that. So it's just a delight. And then I started seeing your products at stores in my area, and then your website launched, and I mean, my goodness, the rest is history. You guys have got to get Lisa's book, Success Never Smelled So Sweet, and get the whole story for yourself, no matter what industry you're in or what kind of business you're trying to start. If you're a mom, you need to get this book and get some insight and some real rubber meets the road advice on how to start your own business. Now, Lisa, I'm going to ask you a question that I know a lot of people have, and it has something to do with this talk show queen who is like worldwide famous, and you were on her show. Tell us how that happened, Lisa.
Well, I'd like to say that, I did all of this stuff and I wrote to this person, but none of that happened. It was just one of those things that the universe planned for me. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting at home, and my brother called, and he said, "Listen, this guy just called the store. He's from the Oprah Winfrey Show, and he wants you to call him." I called him. He's a producer who still works there, and he said that they had heard about Carol's Daughter, that they were working on a show with women, basically moms, who had started businesses out of their homes, and their businesses had earned over $1 million. And I ended up being on the show as a representation of someone who was, at $2 million. There was another woman who invented a salad chopping instrument, and I think she had earned about $10 million. The woman who created Baby Einstein was on the show. She was kind of the biggest out of all of us. And then there was another woman there, Paula Deen, who has cooking shows on the Food Network.
Sure, the lady from Savannah.
Yes, she's amazing. She is an amazing person. Her story was fantastic. So we were all on that show together, and I ended up there because of a producer that I had met at a party who tried the products, liked my presentation, and had put me on The View, actually, when The View had first started. And then she was in Chicago interviewing for a job on Oprah and told the producers, "Well, have you ever heard of Carol's Daughter? You should contact her and put her on the show." So that's how I ended up there.
So what you're describing at the beginning when you said was that you had done your own releases and your own efforts, and so far none of them had panned out, and this was just a part of your... Well,
I actually wasn't trying to get on her show. It's just sometimes when people ask me that question, they think I'm going to give them like a step-by-step guide how to do it, and that's not the case. I wasn't trying to get on Oprah because I felt like her show is so big. How do you ever know that you're ready to do something like that? What if you go on and the response is so huge that you can't handle it and your company actually dissolves because you can't handle the exposure? So I basically let go and let God. And I said, if it happens, it is supposed to happen, because I'm not going to make it happen because maybe I'm not ready for it to happen. So when it did happen, I knew everything was going to be okay because it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't supposed to. And it also taught me how important little things are, because when I follow the trail back on how I got there, it started with me doing a cable show with B. Smith, her show was airing at 6:00 in the morning on, an obscure channel every third Sunday. I mean, no exposure at all when her show first started. I did that show, and from her show, she was launching a magazine and asked people who had been on her show to do demonstrations at a party. I did that party on a rainy December night when I had a cold and didn't want to be there, but, B. Smith was so great, I said, I've got to do it. That producer, Jackie, met me at that party, put me on The View, and at the time, no one knew who The View was when I did it. They were like, what show are you doing? And from The View, Jackie remembers me, and that leads to Oprah 2 years later. So those little things that sometimes seem unimportant, you never know where they're going to lead, and you really just have to follow the universe sometimes and follow your gut. And in my case, it paid off big time.
Well, and what you just described, too, a little bit is mentioned in your book about doing the B. Smith show when you didn't feel like it. So many, that's such great encouragement, because for so many women with kids, we're really, we're trying to do so many different things. And, you may have an obligation, but my goodness, you don't feel like lugging all those boxes across town or wherever you have to go to show up. And what you did was you just did the next right thing and followed your passion and continued to do it, and doors opened up for you because you were there.
Yes.
That is so important, and thank you so much for sharing that, because that let go and let God attitude that you so beautifully describe and with such honesty and grace in your book is it obviously comes through. And so, like, after the Oprah show, my goodness, you mentioned you didn't know whether, you'd be able to handle it. What was it like after the show aired for the first time? What was that like in your house or your business, your retail store? Tell us about that.
It was pretty hectic. Initially, we actually had a little bit of a disaster. Our website actually crashed. It couldn't handle all of the traffic that came to it, but fortunately it was being monitored at the time, so we were able to put a message up that took you to a page where you could request a catalog. So we didn't totally lose the person, but unfortunately it did crash, because it was something like, I don't know, 400,000 hits all at one time or something, and it couldn't handle it. We had a lot of requests for foot care product. Fortunately, there was a week between the taping of the show and the actual airing, so we had an idea of what people may come to the site looking for. Oprah mentioned our foot cream, so we put that on the home page so that people would know that, this is what she's talking about.
Right.
So we had a lot of requests for that particular item, and also for the foot care set that goes with that item. So we prepared ahead of time. We made extra, of the foot cream. So for about 2 months, we just had kind of record sales on those particular items. But what the appearance did do was it got me an interview in People magazine.
Oh, really?
There was actually an intern at People who was trying to get people to do a feature on me, and they weren't decided. And when she told them, well, I just got off the phone with her, she just got back from Chicago, she did Oprah, then they said, okay. It was like this, like the seal of approval, like, okay, she's real, we can do a piece on her now. And
suddenly you matter, you have Oprah in your name.
Right. Yeah, it's like you get this stamp when you go on her show. And that article, in a lot of ways, was actually even bigger than the exposure that we got on Oprah. I don't like, maybe because of the timing, it was right before the holidays, but all of that sort of spearheaded a very good quarter for us. And it happened slowly. So it wasn't, 10,000 orders coming in at one time. It was gradual over a 4-month period, and we could handle it. It was
amazing,
fantastic.
It is fantastic. And I know it would be maybe kind of hard to ask you to do this, but if you can think back to when you didn't think that even B. Smith or The View in their infancies were even just on your radar screen, how difficult was it, or how did you handle the challenges of having a young family and just trying to juggle everything and do all the things? I mean, you wanted to be home with your kids, sure, and you were. And how did you juggle the demands of responding to your customers as well as being involved at home in the way that suited you and your family best?
Well, I did the best I could. I had a lot of support. My husband was very, very supportive and still is of my business, and he's not the type of person who, is at 6 o'clock saying, "Where's dinner?"
Right.
So if he had to prepare it or go out and purchase it, then he did that because he knew that I had orders to fill. Mm-hmm. My mother, when she was still alive, was an amazing support and source for me. She could help me think when I was overwhelmed. When I would call her and say, I have these 15 things to do in the next 2 days, and I don't know which one to put first. And she would help me to sort it out. And she would always say, okay, I want you to stop for 5 minutes, go get yourself a cup of tea, drink the tea, and relax, and then call me back and we'll work it out. Mm-hmm. And we could work it out because I took that moment to breathe.
What a blessing that is.
And she would always remind me that, you have to step away from it and look at it for a little bit and just take that moment. Mm-hmm. I had wonderful women around me that helped me with my house and my children, that volunteered their time and, were supportive of what I was doing. There were some women from my aunt's church, and they would come and, play with my boys, babysit them, bring them to me when I needed to nurse them, and I would work. And it just happened. It just worked itself out. It was difficult. I put myself last a lot. I had to learn how to take care of myself better because it was just kind of a whirlwind of, babies and diapers and creams and orders. But being a mother, you really learn how to multitask very, very well. Mm-hmm. And because of that experience, I learned how to do a lot of things at one time. Mm-hmm. And also, when you become a mother, especially if you're a nursing mother, I don't know if there's clinical proof on this, but I believe that you get into a deeper state of sleep quicker because we have to sleep for 2 hours, 3 hours, these little intervals, and then we have to wake up and feed someone.
Right.
So when we fall asleep during that time of our lives, I think we get into that REM sleep quickly. And I would sleep for 3-4 hours. It felt like I had slept for the night. So I could wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, feed one of my children, and then work for 4 hours when it was quiet and no one was disturbing me, and then feed somebody again, and then go back to sleep for a couple of hours, and then do my day. And, so I feel that becoming a mother made me even more efficient and able to get more stuff done, even though it seems like you would get less done because now you have a baby to take care of.
Yeah, and it sounds like you were so wise in terms of asking for help and just surrounding yourself with people that could assist you. I want to take a little bit of a break. We'll be right back. This is the Lifestyle CEO Show. Call your question or comment in and talk to Lisa Price in person, 800-773-0355. We'll be right back.
Want to stay on top of what's new in the radio industry? Sign up for a free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio, available exclusively to listeners of globaltalkradio.com, and find out what's new in the world of online radio. Listeners can find out about new shows and special guests. People with something special to offer can find out how to become a guest and how to prepare for an interview. And prospective hosts will find a valuable resource for everything from planning their new program to selecting topics and guests, recouping expenses by selling advertising, and more. Sign up today for your free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio by visiting www.globaltalkradio.com and learn about the future of talk radio today.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Lifestyle CEO Show. I'm your host, Donna Maria, the original Lifestyle CEO, and today's show is sponsored by Essential Wholesale, a worldwide supplier of natural raw materials and wonderful, delicious supplies, essential oils, fruit extracts, floral water, shea butter, everything you need to make your own cosmetics at home or on a small scale as a company that sells them. You might want to contact Essential Wholesale if you're interested in learning a little bit more about it. Their website at essentialwholesale.com. We've been talking to Lisa Price of Carol's Daughter this afternoon. You can call in your question or comment to Lisa yourself at 800-773-0355. And we are going to enter all of the people who call into the show this afternoon into a drawing to win a copy of Lisa's book, Success Never Smelled So Sweet. I'm looking at it right here, and I've got a copy queued up to put into the drawing for callers that call into the show today, 800-773-0355. I know you're out there, and I know that you'd like to take advantage of this opportunity to get some insight from Lisa Price. Lisa is going to be joining me in 3 weeks at the Lifestyle CEO Conference. Lisa, I'm so excited to be able to have you coming to the conference. This is the first one, and I couldn't ask for a better keynote speaker. Really delighted to have you. And for those of you who are interested in learning more, you can go to lifestyleceo.com and click on the link for the conference, and you'll learn more about the things that we're going to be sharing. I want to follow up, Lisa, on some of the things you talked about before the break, most notably having to do with getting some help to help you grow your business. You talked about a housekeeper, maybe not someone employed on a full-time basis, but you talked about help from people in a variety of different settings. Can you share a little bit about how you went about filling in those gaps when you had to have a nap, when you were exhausted? How did you fill those gaps in and still be able to run your business and manage your household at the same time?
Well, initially, I was very blessed to have a woman named Nellie who helped me with my children. She was a friend of my aunt, and they went to the same church, and she knew what I was doing because my aunt told her. And she had actually started her own business years before when she was younger, so she knew what I was going through and just offered to help. Mm-hmm. And she would come over and take care of at the time, Forrest, my older son, and while she, took care of him, I could cook and make cream and oils and things like that, and maybe I would make a meal and she would share in the meal, but it was just, one hand washing the other kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It later grew into me being able to employ her, but initially it was just her believing in what I was doing and helping. I have had teenagers work with me. Sometimes you don't think about, there's a kid on your block that's, mm-hmm. 13 or 14 who wouldn't mind getting a couple of dollars to, break down boxes and take care of the recycling, in your house. And that, task may only take you a half hour, 45 minutes, but the $5 or so that you give him or her to do that enables you to earn who knows how much money if you can fill a certain number of orders in that time, develop a new cream, fix the shower gel that you were having problems making. Mm-hmm. You have to look at things like that sometimes, and sometimes you have to spend a little to get, and you have to let go of some of the control. As entrepreneurs, we're very self-centered. We want to do it all ourselves. No one can do it as well as we can, mm-hmm. but you can't grow if you do that. You have to let some of it go and let people into your life to help you and ask for help. Let people know, I really could use a babysitter on Tuesday afternoons. Do you know anybody?
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you for sharing that. That is such great advice, and it is one of the questions that I receive most often. People will email me or call me and say, "How do you do it all?" And I say, "Well, I don't. Mm-hmm. I couldn't possibly." And I know what you're describing is just being available to people, because sometimes people want to help us as much as we need help.
Yes.
And for the young girls, their mothers are usually delighted to have them be earning some pocket change in an environment that they can support and see another woman pursuing her dreams.
That's true.
And I can only imagine a 12 or 13-year-old girl. I mean, my 4-year-old daughter would like to just hang out with you just to smell your stuff. She's a little handmade beauty princess over here. For all of you listening out there, if you have some questions or comments about how Lisa pursued her passion and developed a thriving business, you can call 800-773-0355. And while I'm waiting for those phones to ring, Lisa, I want to ask you another question about this lovely lady that I see on your homepage.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. She's just one of the most, I think, Jada Pinkett Smith, for those of you who haven't yet visited Lisa's website, at carolsdaughter.com, is one of the most beautiful women in the world. How did that collaboration come about?
Well, initially it started with Jada and Will both being customers. They were introduced to the product in the late 90s. In 2003, I met a gentleman named Steve Stout, who is a marketing genius. He started out in the music business and moved into advertising, and he now has a marketing firm called Translation. And Steve expressed interest in investing in Carol's Daughter and helping to take the company to its next level. And we formed a partnership, and Steve brought in Will and Jada, along with Jay-Z, Tommy Mottola, Talia, Jimmy Iovine, into Carol's Daughter as investors. So Jada is our spokesperson, but also our investor, and it's been amazing. I have so much respect for her. I always did, before she was a customer and before she was a part of the family. And she's an amazing person, a beautiful person inside and out, and I think a marvelous representation for this brand. Someone who has overcome odds, who was successful at a young age, has been able to maintain it, is an amazing artist, a wonderful wife and mother, talented, works very hard, multitasks. She's fantastic. I'm very proud of that.
Well, and you've just described yourself as well, and she is a beautiful representation of your line. I mean, it's a wonderful collaboration. I'm so glad that it's worked out well for you. Now, in your book, one of the things you talked about was the first time someone approached you with an opportunity for investment in your company. Tell me a little bit about that experience.
It wasn't the right fit for the time. It was it was a combination of them not knowing too much about me and me not knowing too much about that particular process, and it just didn't work out at that moment. And the reason that I put that in the book is because initially it seemed like it made sense to go in that direction, but then you get kind of these gut feelings and, intuition that, wait, I think I'm being a little premature. I don't think this is right. And I backed away from it because of that gut feeling. But it's that same gut feeling that told me that this venture was the right way to go. And I was trying to show readers that, that female intuition, that gut reaction is something real, and it's something that you can trust. And it just wasn't the right time back then, but when the opportunity presented itself again, I knew because of that same feeling that it was the right thing to do.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that part. I had forgotten about that. That was how you tied it in the book. You talked about encouraging women to really trust their instinct, that sort of intangible feeling that you get about an opportunity that tells you whether it's a good one for you or not.
Yes.
And we're trained sometimes to think that, we're just being emotional, or we have some other sort of gender-explained reason for basing a decision on. And what you're describing is a legitimization of something that is very real, that has served you well throughout your business.
You know when something is right, and you know when it's wrong. And, you can just kind of make a note to yourself when you listen to that voice and when you don't, what the outcome is, and use it as reminders. You know, the last time I felt like this, I didn't follow my gut, and it didn't work out too well. You know, so then you might trust your gut the next time and see how things play out.
Lisa, what is a typical day like for you now?
Well, now it's very different because I'm actually not working at home now. I've switched my office from my home to our warehouse. So I get my boys off to school every morning, and then I get myself to my office. And that's only been going on for about a month and a half, but it's really been great because I get to leave work at work, and then I go home and do my other job as a mom.
I mean, you weren't leaving it separate, huh? Were you stepping in shea butter?
Yeah.
I don't mean literally, but I can only imagine with my little hobby making stuff what it would be like for someone to keep up with orders.
Yeah. I mean, I still fiddle around in the kitchen and make some products at home because it's easier to do that there than it is to disrupt the production here. But all of the filing and the emails and, you know, bill paying and all that kind of stuff stays here in the office, and I'm not looking at that when I come home. So I come into the office. I'm here in the office in Brooklyn for most of the week. Once or twice a week I go to our office in Manhattan and have meetings there. I take care of emails. I go out onto the floor. I supervise production. I help with making new things. I develop fragrances. You know, it's a variety of tasks. Sometimes I have to travel. I have some travel coming up in the next few weeks.
Yay, you're coming to our conference.
Yes, I'm coming to the conference.
So you get to cook dinner in your kitchen and not have to step over the bottles of fragrance oils.
Yes. I have them tucked away in the laundry room, actually.
Okay, so they're out of the way. Well, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We have a caller when we come back. This is the Lifestyle CEO Show. I'm your host, Donna Maria, and we're talking to Lisa Price, the owner of Carol's Daughter. We'll be right back.
Okay.
You're listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com.
Hello, and welcome back to the final segment of the Lifestyle CEO Show. I'm your host, Donna Maria, the original Lifestyle CEO, and we're talking with Lisa Price of Carol's Daughter. Today's show is sponsored by Essential Wholesale, a supplier of natural raw materials and supplies that you can use to make your own cosmetics. You can use their shea butter, essential oils, floral waters, and natural fruit extracts, and about 1 million other things, and you can get them all at their website at essentialwholesale.com and tell them that the original Lifestyle CEO sent you. Lisa, we have got a caller from Florida. Eunice, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, welcome to the Lifestyle CEO Show. What's your comment or question today?
My question is, I wanted to know, how does Carol describe her brand, and how does she come up with the brand for her company? I'm starting out with my company, and I'm just trying to figure out my brand.
So, Eunice, you're trying to you're trying to come up with and formulate your own brand. So you're asking Lisa, how did she formulate her brand, come up with her company name?
Exactly.
Okay, Lisa, how about that?
Well, I came up with the name by brainstorming. I had a boss at the time who, when he wanted to decide what to name a project that he was going to work on, he would make a list of what the project was going to be about, and then another list of the goals that it was going to achieve, and from there he would come up with the name. So I wrote a list of things that I was, and then I wrote a list of things that I wanted to become. And one of the things that I was Carol's daughter. My mom's name is Carol, and I'm Carol's daughter. So, and it just stuck when I said it. When I said it, something about it just felt right. I got like a little chill. And out of everything else on the list, that was the only one that sort of resonated that way. And then our slogan, Beauty by Nature, I came up with that because I feel like anyone's beauty is already in them. It comes from nature. It's a part of you. And any beauty products per se that you use, whether they're cosmetics or toiletries, are just enhancing what nature has already given you. So nature inspires me to create the things that I create, but I'm only enhancing the beauty that is existent in nature. It's already there. So that's where the slogan came from. But that's how I came up with the name.
That's beautiful. So it sounds like you look, like you said, at where you were and where you wanted to be to name the company, and then the slogan more describes the actual products themselves.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Eunice, does that help you?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much, Carol. I read your book and I love it.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. It's so funny. Lisa, I think she just called you Carol. Does that happen a lot?
Yes.
It's kind of hard not to do it since I'm sitting here looking at your website, and every time I say your name, I do see that word.
And then people think that that Carol is the person who started the company, and that she named it Carol's daughter after her daughter.
Right.
So they'll walk up to me and they'll say, "Are you Carol?" And then I say, "No, I'm not Carol. My name is Lisa Price." "Well, I love your mom, and I love her products." And I'm like, "No, they're my products. It's me."
This company's named for you by your mother.
Right.
That's funny. That is
right.
so funny. We've got another caller. We've got Bill from Cleveland, Ohio on line 4. Bill, are you there?
I am.
Hi, welcome to the Lifestyle CEO Show. What's your question or
You're
comment
welcome,
for
Donna.
Lisa?
My question for Lisa is in the area of new product development. It seems like we always have to come up with something fresh and new to keep, the market in tune to our products. Do you have any schedule, or how do you figure when it's time to introduce a new product?
That's a good question. Lisa, did you hear that?
No, I couldn't hear him.
Okay, let me repeat. Bill wants to get some insight into how you schedule in the introduction of new products into your marketing and your manufacturing plan. How do you know when it's right to introduce a new product?
Well, initially, I just did it on a whim. If I felt, I found this new fragrance and I want to develop products with it, and I'm going to just make it and sell it. And that's when things were very, very small, and I was making quantities of 12 or 24, so if it didn't work, it wasn't really a big deal. Then when I got larger, I started to introduce them at Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, and Christmas. Bring out something new, feature it in a gift set, or feature it separately on its own. It would get exposure. I didn't have to spend extra money on any kind of printed material for it because I had to spend money on a brochure for that time of year anyway. So I would introduce this new thing then, and if there was a good buzz when that holiday season was over, then I knew that it was something that I could bring back. And if it wasn't well received, then I knew it was something that I could save for another time or rework it. So I still do that now. It's a little bit more strategic, and I think further ahead. The more organized that I've been able to get with the people that have come into the company since our new partnership, I'm able to plan what's going to be featured in 2007, and I didn't have that luxury before. I know now the things that I want to develop for 07 and 08, and it's just now 2006. So that's been great.
So you're building your growth has allowed you to build in some of those efficiencies and think ahead more clearly.
Yes.
But wasn't it fun too when you just could whip something up and just add it?
It wasn't. I still do that, but I just can't put it on the shelf.
Right.
But I still do that.
Okay, that was a good question, Bill. Did that help you?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for calling in. Have a good New Year.
You too. Bye.
Great. Lisa, I am looking at your website. Let's talk for a second about some of this new beautiful stuff. Let's see, you said you introduced new things around Christmas. What was it for just a couple of weeks ago?
Well, we featured our vanilla bean sea salt scrub, which isn't new, but it's one of those kinds of things that a lot of people don't know about and don't know how delicious it is. Mm-hmm. And our sugar cookie body spray was new. Mm. And then for Valentine's Day, we are featuring our new bath oils. Mm-hmm. We have a new mango melange bath oil, a Jamaican punch bath oil. We have new packaging for the bath oils. So they're going to be featured in 2 gift sets for Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm. So tell me what is in store for the future for Carol's Daughter, things that you can share. What can we look forward to seeing?
Well, for 2006, we'd like to open 3 more stores.
Where?
We're planning one in the D.C. area.
Yay!
D.C. Baltimore area, and the other 2 will probably be in the New York area. Okay. Not sure exactly where yet. We're looking at a couple of options.
Well, I definitely vote for the D.C. area where I am.
And, just looking to add new products to the line. I'm working on a fragrance right now that will hit for Mother's Day. Mm-hmm. And can't say what it is, but it's fabulous, and it's coming for Mother's Day, so if you stay tuned to the website, you'll know.
Well, we'll all look for that. And speaking of the website, there's a link where at carolsdaughter.com, right there on the homepage, you can become a member. And becoming a member adds you automatically to your email list, if I'm not mistaken, where the announcement about the new products can come to you first.
Yes.
Okay, because I know I get that, and I see all the new stuff that's coming out. And it's interesting, too, that you've developed some partnerships with some artists, some musical artists and other things, and you've found some synergies there in terms of co-introducing products and other types of services that your members are interested in that are complementary to your beauty products.
That's been a great synergy.
Yeah,
and then for me personally, it's wonderful because
right.
I love music. Yeah. I don't know what I would do if I couldn't turn on the stereo and play music while I'm working.
Well, I always enjoy getting your email newsletter because I know there's always lots of great products there and also something else to learn about products and what's going on in other areas like new artists and things like that. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us on today's show. I want to encourage all of you to visit carolsdaughter.com, have a look around, and also go to lifestyleceo.com and see what's going on and how you can meet Carol and some other dynamic women speakers at the conference on January 28th at lifestyleceo.com. I want to thank today's sponsor, Essential Wholesale, suppliers of natural ingredients and raw materials to make your own cosmetics. Visit essentialwholesale.com for more information. Happy New Year, everyone. This is Donna Maria. I'm going to sign off now until next week. Come back and join me then when we will continue to help you break all the rules, build your own corporate ladder, and create the life you love. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com.